How's it? Today is December 21st. It's Monday, and I have a continuation, I guess, of the snatch work that I started doing last week. My hang snatch singles. So last week to my surprise, ended up hitting a single hang snatch at 220, which is the heaviest hang snatch I've done in the last year for sure. And today was, at least the goal was to hit 225, which is just the next step up on that hang snatch single. I definitely have the strength to do it, and I definitely know how to do it. It's just I can't do it together. That's a big problem for me because it's like a mental issue that I'm having to run with. So I'm talking as if wasn't able to hit the 225, and it's because I wasn't. I ended up missing it 4 times today, which is a ton of misses. I am not sure if it's a combination. Well, sorry. I'm not sure if it's due to my elbow, like I'm super uneasy on my elbow, or if it's due to something else. And I think that it could be a combination of that, where overhead, if it's not perfectly correct, I am not comfortable pushing with my elbow because, again, I don't want to extend past its normal tolerable range of motion. So even a few of these warm up sets were a little questionable. And so that kind of impacted the way I ended up extending for my snatches. And so I guess what it looks like as it gets to those heavier sets, we'll see a little bit later. But I'm throwing my hips a little bit more, which is not typical of the way that I lift when I'm lifting well. It happens all the time when it gets really heavy for the snatch, but if I'm lifting well, no matter what weight, I don't end up throwing my hips. It's always just extension through my legs, and then traveling under the bar after that. So it's very atypical of me to have an issue where I end up throwing my legs forward, because that means that my center of gravity must go forward, then back, and then um, under, which doesn't lend itself to being the best way to snatch. So all of the attempts before this one, I was able to extend through my legs, and my hips did kind of remain neutral. They did end up being straight, but not forward. This one as well. But that little shift at the bottom from my elbow overhead, it kind of wasn't the best feeling. So here's my first attempt at 225. Second attempt here. There we go. Now I'm starting to throw my hips. You can see that the bar is a little bit forward, and when that happens, that's an indication that I'm not able to meet my like requisite height requirement because I am out of position elsewhere in the lift. That one was makeable for some reason. That one shifted to my right. I've literally never done that in my entire life. So that was a strange occurrence for me. So after that, I did my down sets, just doubles at 185. Last week I did doubles at 190, but Steve was saying that the 5 pound difference should actually be, like if I do it a little bit lighter, it should give me a little bit more practice getting speed through the bar, through the positions. So he preferred that I do them at 185. They're all very easy. You can see there my hips are not really throwing them, like I'm not throwing them forward as I extend, but getting them over my head and getting it into the right spot for the overhead squat is just, like I said, really easy. And so I don't understand why I can't translate those things. Like, it's just definitely a mental block, but it's just a frustrating thing because I know I have the strength and I know how to move correctly. So it's just something I'm gonna have to figure out as I move forward. After that, I moved into some floating snatch pulls. Some of these were not the best. Some of them were okay. I go 230, 230, 240, 240, 250, 250. And some of them, like I said, were not good, and some of them were pretty good. I think I have a tendency. It's the same tendencies that I've been talking about for the last couple weeks, but I have a tendency to pull with my upper body a little bit too much, like this here, not enough with my legs. Yeah, again, not enough with my legs. So yeah, I think from the floor, it's generally a little bit easier to get the timing of them together, but the positions might be a little bit different because anytime I get to lower it from the hang to a floating position, that start position is always, not always, but almost always better than the actual start from the floor. It's like you're properly loaded. So this is probably my best set. It's the one I sent to Steve, so that's probably why. And after that, I did the snatch push press plus overhead squat. So last week, I'm not actually sure what last week was, but it was not a single or a 1+1. So this week is a heavy 1+1. So given how poorly I did on the snatch, I wanted to push my 1+1 and see how heavy I could actually go. Turns out I PR'd. I did a 275, which I've never push pressed and I've never um, overhead squat. So that's really positive for me. Honestly, I would have been happy with this here 240, but like I said, like I did want to make up for how poorly everything. These people walking behind me, very upsetting. But yeah, so I got 255, 265, and then 275. Brother Kavika, he was there, and I asked him what I should do. He's like, yeah, go 265, and then I wanted to try 275, even though this 265 was terrible. I've done 265 in the past. I've never done 275. So after some contemplation, I did decide to go for the 275. And here it is. I'm shaking a lot here. I did end up twisting a little bit. My wrist started hurting just from stabilizing that overhead. But otherwise, I'm really happy with how that went. So I moved into my my non-bar accessory workout. So it's just pull-ups, the bicep curls, and then my hanging leg raise for core. Um, Everybody there was making fun of me for doing curls, but you know, I shouldn't get offended. I think I do need to do these curls because it's um it's a prehab thing for my elbow, and that's what I'm thinking of them as. So I don't know. I just shame, and I guess maybe when I get bigger arms, I will be less shame. But overall, I think this is completely necessary for my overall progress. And like I mentioned, I ended up with hanging leg raises to finish off. Yeah, so that was pretty uneventful at the beginning and pretty eventful at the end. And I'm just really happy that I was able to do that 275. So thank you for watching. Shoot.